especially for someone with a disability, that you shouldn't let your disability define you, because it's a part of you and it'll always be a part of you, but it shouldn't stop you from living the life that you want, that you need, and that you deserve. And so I always tell people to keep fighting and don't give up. The easy thing to do is to give up. The hard thing is to continue to fight and keep moving forward no matter what the odds are in front of you.
Now that you've been dealing with your disability, what are your current weaknesses?
I would say, one of my weaknesses, even though as much as that I've, overcome my blindness and my disability, it is still a big weakness in my eyes, because I fight to get people to treat me normally, to show that, my disability doesn't define what I can and can't do. There's always creative ways to overcome it. But it's a weakness that I see because others let it define me. Others have this preconceived notion that I can't do something because I'm blind. And so that's a constant struggle and a constant fight. And I see that as a weakness because I continue to fight and get people to know that, but I'll consider it a strength once I can, really break that barrier to show that no matter what my disability is, people can still see me as a normal person. I mean, despite that, weaknesses come every day with being blind. It's sometimes finding the help that I need despite my blindness, because there's things that I obviously can't do. And so that, that's a big weakness that I still strive to find ways to overcome. Sometimes I still feel that emotions are still part of my big weakness too, because I have overcome so much, but there are days that I get, depressed still. There's things that still affect me because of my blindness, because our world isn't made for someone who's blind. And so I still find days when I get depressed sometimes, but I'm able to get out of that much quicker because of the stuff that I do. Other than that, all the weaknesses that I've had, I found ways to overcome and find strength in them as well, because our weaknesses, sometimes if we work on our weaknesses, we can turn them into strengths. And that's kind of what I've tried to do, to show people that just because my blindness is a weakness, it's not really a weakness. I find ways to be creative and problem solving and being, happy and healthy, and finding ways to share my triumphs with other people. And so I always try to find ways that I'm weak in to make them into strengths.
Has there been, or is there a person in your life who's made the biggest difference in your mental attitude?
I would say yes. There's been a few people, but I would say my brother is probably one of the biggest supporters of me. We're identical twins, and he's got the same condition I do, but he is only, blind in his left eye with a little bit of blindness in his right eye. But, he continues to live his life much in the same way that I am. He's in school to get his MBA right now, and he's gotten married, and he's in the process of having a family and living life. And even though he struggles, he continues to go on. And so even though I lost my sight before him, he's been there to support me in some of my times when I haven't had employment, when I didn't really have a place to live. Before I moved to Chicago, I was in Nashville. Nashville didn't really work out, so I had moved to Chicago, and he gave me a place to stay while I was getting on my feet here in Chicago and finding employment. And so my brother has been a big support to me and has continued to help me, and I think he'll always continue to help me, because he's the closest one to me and my family that knows what I'm going through, because he's not total for his blindness, but he has limitations as well. So we're able to confide in each other and, pick each other up when we're down. And so he's been instrumental in, keeping me sane some days when I'm not feeling so happy.
What has been your greatest success not emotionally, but physically?
I would say physically, probably climbing. I've done some, pretty cool things in as far as climbing. I've been ice climbing in New Hampshire, and I've been ice climbing in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and ice climbing in Colorado, and rock climbing is just as many places. I feel that climbing itself, even though I've been in so many different places, the climbing has probably been my most physical success not only since I lost my sight, but my entire life, because climbing is, it's pretty physical, and there's a lot that goes into it. But to know, being on the ground to, 300 or 400 feet in the air, up on the side of a rock, I mean, it's pretty physical. There's a lot of physicality that goes into it. And so I would say out of that whole thing, I would probably put my first climb in El Dorado Canyon in Colorado. It was on a route called the Bomb, and it was on the Wind Tower, and it was the first time that I was probably about a little over 200 feet in the air, and it was at the same time that I did my first self-rappelling without any assistance. And I mean, all that's pretty, physical. And, I would say that's the success, because it taught me to overcome a lot of fear.
What are you most proud of over the last 15 years?
Employment. As sad as that is sometimes, employment is what I'm most proud of. I've struggled since I have, a few bachelor's degrees, and I have done a lot with education, thinking that all that would help me, find gainful employment. And for me, being blind is one of the hardest things that I struggled with, and a lot of people that have disabilities struggle with it. And so to finally find a company that believes in me, even though it's taken me a long time, that's my true success, because I've always wanted to be employed. I've always wanted to be a productive member of society. I wanted to, get off of, disability income and everything. And I had fought so long to find gainful employment and someone to take me seriously. And that's a big accomplishment, because it's not only an accomplishment for me finding the employment that I have been seeking since I graduated college, but it's a step forward in our society, knowing that if one person took a chance on me, then I know that there will be other companies, other people that will take chances on other people with disabilities, especially those that are blind, because the unemployment in the blind community is about 70%. It's 70% being underemployed or not employed at all. And so that's a tremendous success for me, fighting so long to find a job. I mean, I've done so much. I've done climbing, I've done skydiving, I've done public speaking. All those are fantastic things, but nothing has made me more proud and more motivated, despite some of my blindness, and finding a job, finding someone to believe in me despite my blindness.
What can you do for people in your predicament, position, listening to these type of interviews? What can you do that other people can't do?
I would say, that there's a lot to that question, but I would say what I can do for these kind of interviews is always be there for others. I would say I haven't always had a support system with me. I've had a support system, so don't take me wrong, but a support system that can really sometimes be there for me in ways that I want, and so I want to kind of pay it forward. So I always, let people know that, when they listen to these interviews or listen to me public speaking, that I'm always there for them. They can always reach out for me, and I can give them advice in ways that I've overcome some of my struggles. And so that's kind of what I really, like to do. That's what I can offer people is, a listening ear, someone that will not always try to fix their issues, but, be there just to listen to them. I've always been a good listener, and so that's kind of one aspect that I always like to show people too, that I'll be there to listen to people. If they want to reach out, they can always reach out, and I'll, love to talk to them and share my experiences.
With that in mind, where can people get in touch with you for more information or just to talk?
Say the best way for people to get in touch with me is just through my website. It's theblindascent.com. All my social media on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram is the same as well. You can always message me through there. And I know the woman that works with me, Beatrice Davis, is on my social media or on my website as well. So she's always, looking out for me and helping people get in touch with me as well. So I'd say just go to my website, The Blind Ascent, and feel free to reach me through there. And I'd be glad to, get in contact with anyone that is wanting to learn more about me or just to talk.
Shawn, I want to thank you for the time you spent with us, sharing your life's experience, and we hope nothing but success, and have a good day.
Great.